Yes, we are back on a big bike and it does feel good. It's been 11 weeks since this bike was on the channel, but why is that? Well, when this bike was last on the channel, we had not long replaced her radiator. And on that note, actually, I have had some positive comments left for me over the years of doing YouTube. And one such comment came during the replacement of Laren's radiator. And this viewer had said that these radiators, these aluminium radiators, they're good, but that the rad cap might not be up to spec, and that I might see some coolant disappearing from the expansion tank. And he was absolutely right. When he said that, I went and grabbed my old cap just in case. And not long after putting this bike back on the road, she did become my main method of transport, because my 125 needed a service and my 306 was off the road again. I know, shock. And so Laren here, she became my main method of transport, and so it didn't take long for me to notice the level in the expansion tank had dropped. So I put the original rad cap back on, and since then she's been fine. But saying that, although I know that the rad cap is now the correct one, we were riding for a while there while she was my main method of transport. Has been quite a few weeks since I regularly used this bike. The last video that we made for the channel with this bike was the one all about riding in extreme weather. In particular, riding in temperatures around 0 degrees, which is what we were doing at the time. Well, it seems that using this bike at 0, 1, 2, 3 degrees, that sort of temperature, it did take its toll on the bike. And the reason why I haven't used the bike for quite a long time is because I don't trust her. And I don't trust her because I almost got stuck at work at one point. Excellent. I wanted to know what on earth he was doing before I went for it. So yes, we almost got stuck at work at one point because I'd done my day's work and we were all set to go home, and she wouldn't start. She would turn over 2 or 3 times and then stop. Turn over 2 or 3 times and then stop. And then all she did was click. Fortunately, I left her for a couple of minutes and then tried again and she started. But since then I've found myself losing faith in the bike, because who wants to take a bike out not knowing if you're going to get home? So I started looking into the battery situation. You see, when I first bought this bike, she had a flat battery. Yes, I bought an accident damaged, MOT failure, non-running bike, and when I put it that way, for those of you that know me, she really was destined to be my bike. So, started looking at the battery situation. When I bought the bike, of course, as I say, the battery was flat, so I tried charging it, left it on charge overnight, and the next day plugged the battery in and it did absolutely nothing. Didn't even put the ignition lights on, so I had to replace the battery. And having had battery problems previously with my 125, I'd fixed those battery issues by fitting a gel battery. So I thought, yeah, let's go with the gel battery. And for about 18 months, she's been okay. Until now. And so I looked into the battery situation with these bikes, and it transpires that Triumph fitted a battery to the Gen 1 Daytona that was too small. Yes, these Gen 1 Daytonas, their batteries are too small. These Daytonas launched in 2006, and then in 2007, let me just pull over here. In 2007, they launched the Street Triple, and the Street Triple had a bigger battery. So then Triumph, why did you fit a bigger battery to the Street Triple? Well, it's because it needed it. These Daytonas and the Street Triple, they're kind of the same bike, just that one's naked and one has a pretty frock. So they fitted a bigger battery to the Street Triple. It was almost like they had the Daytona and the battery was too small, and they had the Street Triple over here, and they're like, yeah, we need to get a bigger battery on the Street Triple, and they just forgot about the Daytona. The battery, the issue seems to be, it's too small, but it seems to come down to what's known as the cold cranking amp of the battery, and that's something that I'm not overly technically minded with batteries, but the cold cranking amp is to do with how much power the battery can send to the starter motor, particularly when it's really cold. And if the battery can't send enough power to the starter motor, then it can't spin your engine over quick enough to get the engine started. That's particularly important when it comes to these Daytonas, because there is something in the ECU that won't allow the engine to turn over unless it gets a certain amount of power from the battery. I forget exactly what it's to do with now, but it's to do with a previous problem that Triumph had with their bikes. And so if your battery's not sending enough power to the starter motor, it won't even turn. It's not like it'll turn slowly. You'll just push the starter and it'll click. And the difference between a fully charged battery on one of these Gen 1s and how much the ECU wants the battery to send to the starter motor, it's a very fine margin. And so if your bike doesn't start within the first or second attempt, it doesn't start at all. You just get a click. Hence why Triumph fitted the bigger battery. Now, in theory, I should just be able to fit a bigger battery. No, that doesn't... You'd think so, but no, you can't. And I'll show you for why. We don't actually have the room to fit a bigger battery in here. You see, the Gen 2 battery is wider, and it's wider by about 20 mil, maybe even slightly more. So it's significantly bigger than what we've got here, and it's also taller. I mean, fitting a taller battery is easy enough because you just get the battery tray and you just drop it a little bit lower. So to do that, Triumph changed the battery tray. The Gen 2 Daytona has a completely different battery tray, so all of this here that's being held, the wiring, the battery, everything, and you know, this tray that goes up and under the seat, they changed that tray. So I either stick with a standard battery or I have to get a Gen 2 battery tray. And what makes it even worse is when you actually look at the cold cranking amp capacity of stock batteries. Well, the stock battery has 110 cold cranking amps. I'm just going to get a little bit technical for a minute if I can. The Gen 2 battery has 135, so it's a significant increase. The gel version of the Gen 2 battery has 160, and at this point I'm thinking, yeah, I'll have some of this. 160 compared to 110. If I'm having trouble with 110, I definitely want to go down the 135 or the 160 route. And then I thought, oh, well, let's just check my Gen 1 gel battery, because it's meant to be an upgrade, so if it's 110 as standard, I should have more than that, or at least 110. No, 100. So out of those 4 options, I've got the shittest one. And I do find it frustrating that, having opted for a gel battery, to then subsequently discover that it has a cold cranking amp capacity that's lower than the standard battery. At the very least, I need to change this gel battery for a stock one, but as I say, that will only take the cold cranking amps up from 100 to 110. I must admit that Gen 2 gel battery with 160, that looks pretty tasty right about now, and well, I need to do something. Ideally what I would do, and I think this is the route that I'm going to take, ideally I would source a Gen 2 battery tray. I've been looking, haven't found one yet, but I would like to find a Gen 2 battery tray and go to the effort of swapping it over. It'll be a pain swapping the battery tray over, but that's what I'd like to do, get a battery tray swapped over so I can actually fit a bigger battery and get either the 135 or the 160. I need this bike to be reliable. We all need our bikes to be reliable, but at the moment, especially at the moment, I need this bike to be reliable because the 306 is off the road yet again. And Rafiki, yes, Rafiki is also off the road. More on that next time.